Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. Today's another AMA episode, that is Ask Me Anything. I love to answer your questions, and if you have a question you think is going to be of broad interest, send it in. I'll answer it live on the air. Send your questions to victor@victorjm.com. That's victor@victorjm.com. But first, a number have reached out to me and asked if I'm willing to provide consulting with one real estate problem or another. The short answer is yes, but I only have a limited amount of time. So I can only directly serve a handful of clients, even if my team gets involved in helping out with the consulting. Let me give you an example of the types of problems that surface. One client has about 500 acres and had part of their land under contract to sell to a developer. The seller was depending on that transaction closing for their own business survival, and it looks like that transaction is now going to be delayed at a minimum or possibly fall through altogether. The question from the client was how could they save the deal? Now, the fact is the seller didn't actually need to sell the land per se. What they need is money. Selling land is one way to get money, but not the only one. Now, real estate sales get delayed for all kinds of reasons, and deals fall apart right now all over the industry. So instead, we looked at the land to see if there could be some other hidden assets that could translate into revenue. My friend Ken McElroy, one of the Rich Dad advisors, is famous for his quote, "Sales solves almost all problems." In other words, revenue solves almost all problems. If you believe the thesis that there will be disruptions in the food supply, which I do, then perhaps using those 500 acres to produce a high-value crop could be the best use of the land in the short term, and the quickest path to revenue. The owner of the property happens to be located in a part of the country with ready access to local labor. Not only that, she may qualify for additional types of agricultural financing that would not be available for, say, a residential homeowner. In less than a day, we were able to identify 5 potential income and funding streams that were not visible to the landowner on their own. This is the power of bringing someone in with a fresh perspective and a business mind into the discussion. So if you're facing an acute business problem, either with income or your balance sheet, I have a limited number of time slots to help business owners directly. And if this is something you'd like to explore, feel free to reach out to me at victor@victorjm.com. Now, on today's show, we're talking about investing versus speculating, and we're answering a listener question about where to invest in today's environment. And this question comes from David in Great Falls, Montana. David says, "I want to thank you for all the hard work you put in on putting out great content that is filled with such helpful information. I had a question on the podcast you had on April the 14th about stagflation. I was wondering what are good assets to buy to hedge against stagflation in the economy." Well, David, thanks for the kind words, and this is a great question. One of the best short-term hedges against inflation is precious metals. I definitely recommend parking some cash in precious metals during a time like this, but I also have to tell you it's very difficult to buy gold or silver at the retail level today. Supply is completely dried up, and almost every dealer I've researched has zero inventory. I like the way you phrased the question. Instead of asking where to invest, you asked what asset you should buy. And in this context, I'm going to use Robert Kiyosaki's definition of the word asset, where he defines an asset as something that produces positive net income. We are, of course, at a moment in time where problems are everywhere. I'm continually shocked by the fundamental lack of understanding of what investing really is all about. Some people just focus on buying low and selling high, and that's not really investing, that's speculating. The true investor mindset understands the value of an asset not just because it's sold at some certain price. They understand its value on the basis of its ability to generate net income. My thought is to focus on tactical problem solving. We're going through a global problem right now with supply chains. They're not going to resolve quickly. The recovery, which is months away, is going to be incredibly messy and inefficient. The path to earning is to solve problems that people are willing to pay money to have solved. The most trivial example is a guy walking through the crowd at a summer music festival selling cold bottled water for $2 a bottle. They paid 30 cents per bottle, and they're making a healthy margin, but the thing is they're solving a problem. The problems abound right now. 90% of the doorknobs in the world are manufactured in China, and as a global disruption, everyone in construction is experiencing shortages of hardware for doors. That's a problem that needs to be solved. Supply chains are going to be reevaluated in the coming months with greater emphasis on security of supply. It used to be the case that everyone focused on commoditizing and the lowest price always wins. I believe that's going to change in the future. There's going to be a shortage of spare parts globally. Anyone with a machine shop who can manufacture spare parts from a CAD file is going to do very well. Any machine shop that can create a CAD file by copying an existing part that might be broken by digitizing the dimensions will also do very well. There are shortages in the food supply that have opened up, and they will become increasingly acute in the coming weeks and months. Someone with a few 100,000 seedlings would probably get a good price for them. It would only take a few acres to produce a few 100,000 seedlings. It's likely that many men in North America are going to be reluctant to go to the barber to get their hair cut anytime soon, and sales of hair clippers have gone through the roof. Inventories are sold out, and many orders are experiencing long lead times. Here's another problem to be solved. They're literally everywhere. You get the idea? It's about discovering the real problems and finding a way to add real value, not just by being a middleman in the transaction. We're talking about creating real value. Hopefully this gives you a perspective on what to look for in the marketplace. I want to thank you, David, for a great question. It's a question we're going to be looking at repeatedly over the coming days and weeks. For the listeners at home, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.